So, hey, I've got Chuck Hicks here, and he has an ongoing, really amazing story. At our event this last year in 2017, we had a local doctor here called Dr. Lenskes, who had started to try this lifestyle for himself and had found it worked amazingly for him. He came to our event and got reinforcement, I suppose, for everything that he had seen and read about and had tried out on himself. And now, coming away from that event, he felt like he had enough confidence to advocate it for his patients. And it was at that time, he's known Chuck here for a long, long time, and was at that time, Chuck was at his wit's end, and Brian was in the right place now to start talking to him seriously about trying this. And I remember seeing you do a bit of a testimonial a couple of weeks ago, and kind of a really interesting story about where you were and how you determined, kind of a semi-funny story about how you determined how much you actually weighed at that point.
Yeah.
Can you tell, like, give everybody a little bit of a précis of that, of how you got started?
And so starting from the beginning, basically, it was like a Monday morning, and Dr. Brian Liskis had given me a call, and that's not a call I would ignore when I get a doctor of internal medicine giving me a call, and literally, he just said, I was about to goes, hey, Chuck, I want to help you get that weight off. And, so I'm smart enough to just listen. I'd done every diet in the world. I had everyone. And as I mentioned in my testimony, I'd probably done everything. Atkins, Jenny Craig, Nutrisystem. And as I said before, I tried veganism once. It lasted about 5 minutes, and that was it. So that just didn't work for me. And when Brian started to explain to me the science behind ketogenics, and that's kind of, it interested me, because I had thought all along that I just didn't have the willpower. I was told I was a glutton. And I found out something interesting about being a glutton. I've been doing a lot of research in the word glutton and what that really is. And it's not a person does not have to be fat to be a glutton.
Right.
A person can live a lifestyle of eating cake and ice cream every day and foods of a major indulgence, and that person's eating those foods primarily for pleasure, and that would be more of a person that would fall along the lines of being a glutton, if you will. And so but usually it's associated with or equated with fat people. But anyway, onto the thing is, at the time when I listened to Brian and what he had said, I decided to do a little bit more research on this. He led me to a few places to look, and I started. I looked up quite a few different sites, and I looked you up and started doing some research and seeing what this was all about. And my first priority was to get a beginning weight, and of course I went to. There's no scale that could weigh me. I went up to Dr. Linskis' office to weigh, and his scale only went up to 400 pounds at that time. And so I went to, I started to think, where can I weigh? Well, years ago when I was a lot younger than I am now, I worked in a warehouse. And so I thought, I started to think, I'll go, whoa, wait a minute, I can weigh on one of those pallet scales. Wow. Because they're, they carry a lot of, they weigh freight on those things. They'll certainly be able to weigh me. And so I just happened to know of a place, and I walked in the front door, and the lady there, she had a straight face, and I said, hey, I'm doing this ketogenic lifestyle, and I need to get a beginning weight for my doc, and just to know where I'm beginning at and what have you. Now, this had been after a week into ketogenics already, when I actually went and finally figured this place out and went to weigh. So, and being in, so sitting there in this lobby, and the lady was real professional. She had a great straight face. No, she wasn't in any way
snickering behind your back.
Nothing like that. Until she started to walk down the hallway, and there was a bunch of offices there, and there were people sitting at these desks. And all I hear is her. I mean, I didn't necessarily hear her laughing, but I heard a bunch of laughter back there. Mm-hmm. And I'm okay with that. I mean, if I was a skinny guy, I'm probably might have done the same thing. I don't know, So it didn't bother me. I understand, and I wasn't offended in any way, And so, but it was kind of, I just thought to myself, it was kind of funny to me because I could see myself being one of the guys hiding behind the desk back there. And sure enough, I'm walking down the hallway and I couldn't find anybody. They were either hiding behind their desk or something. So, and then I went back and I got my weight, my beginning weight. At that point, the official one was 458 pounds. I came up with 465 because on ketogenics, when you're serious, you're doing it right. In the first week, you lose an average of 7 to 9 or even 11 pounds. And so I chose the lowest number, which was 7. I figured, okay, 458 plus 7 is 465.
Give you a pretty good idea of where you started.
Yeah, so that's kind of how I got to where it's at. And I just started, I started doing a lot of research and looking into this and understanding the idea of the foundation for me in this whole thing has been the insulin. I heard those magic words. High insulin means you're fat, low insulin means you're skinny. Well, I want low insulin. I don't want to have high insulin. But then I started studying the other stuff like leptin and ghrelin and getting into that. And I'm going to say the first thing I started to realize going through this process was after the first couple of weeks, and I was really strict. Ketogenics suggests that you do under 20 grams a day of carbs. I was under 10 grams a day. Wow. I went real strict, and I decided that I was going to cut out all sugar because ketogenics suggests that the lifestyle suggests you don't have all these sugars in you, and so I did that. Excuse me, I did that, and so cutting out all the sugars, and literally the first couple of weeks, zero sweeteners at all. And it was a change. It was absolutely a change because I had to adapt to, I love Starbucks. I go to Starbucks every single day. They actually know my drink when I'm in the drive-thru if I go through the drive-thru. I spent a lot of time going to the drive-thru before I started dropping weight, let me tell you.
Yeah, I can believe
it. And but I had to change it up because I used to get the 4 pumps of classic sweetener and did all that, but then I'm like, okay. So I started getting green tea, iced green teas with zero sweetener, unsweetened. So water and some tea leaves, basically. Mm-hmm. And so that was a shift for me because you're so used to doing things a certain way. And I'd say probably the other thing I had to adapt to was going to, if I had to get food when I was out, where do I eat? What do I eat? What restaurants have what? So that was kind of a thing. But that was kind of later on. I kind of stayed away from that stuff, in the beginning as long as I could. And but I started on this ketogenic lifestyle. I think the big thing is this is the first time I'd ever done any type of thing, when it came to losing weight. And I try to avoid using the term diet too much anymore because I'm not. If I use, a lot of people think of diet as a thing where you're cutting calories or some nonsense like that, and you're trying to lose weight. Well, I think of it in a different way now. I think of it as a lifestyle choice and a way of eating now. And of course, diet means the food that you're eating. But I just like to make that clarification because a lot of people think that they use that word, they equate diet to anything.
Restriction of calories.
Yes, restriction
more than anything.
Yeah, precisely. And so for me, this became a way of life for me, and I realized, and I didn't do that right away. I'm a kind of like, let's give it a try, let's give it a go, and I was all in. I read The Obesity Code by Dr. Jason Fung. I watched the videos. I watched some of your stuff, and I watched the 2 Keto dudes. I watched probably everything on ketogenics, that I could get a hold of. And I read Tim Noak's book, The Lure of Nutrition, and so I've been through Jimmy Moore's stuff. I've read. I've just been obsessed, and
join the club.
What's that?
I said, join the club. It's like all of us when once we get into it and we see how amazing it is, then you can't get enough of it.
Yeah, but it was a lot of fun too because but first of all, I want to point out that I realized that it became a lifestyle when it was after so many weeks in, and I realized that I wasn't missing anything. I wasn't, and I was feeling really good, feeling better than I've ever felt on any type of change in my nutrition in my life. I mean, I've done everything else like I had mentioned, but this time I felt different. I felt more clear-headed. I felt more energy. And things started to happen. I could see a little better. My eyesight actually improved. I have readers that I use, and I actually went down in my readers I had 2.5 readers. I went down to 1.5 readers. I had just a lot of changes, a lot of physiological changes in my body. But one of the things that I used to have is I had an edema on my legs. And for people that don't understand what edema is, that's when your legs swell up and you don't have ankles anymore. And you could take your finger, push on your leg, and it just creates this big crater.
And it just stays there.
It just stays there, and it takes a while for it to go away. And that scared me a little bit because I started doing like the research. I'm like, oh, kidney failure and all these things. I didn't know what it was, heart problems. And my heart was racing too. I had some things going on with my heart. And so that was another thing, is just having all these things that were happening. But this all turned around and it went away literally in weeks of starting a ketogenic lifestyle. And the more the weeks progressed and went on, I realized, I go, I love this, and I don't ever want to change it. But the big test was around the holidays. That was the big test, to say, okay, could I take a day of indulgence and eat pie and eat those wonderful holiday treats that come around, those times a year? And could I do that? And so I did. The holidays rolled around. We had and I think it was around Christmas or so. I had pie. I had or pecan pie. I drank sweetened stuff. I had, just the Christmas cookies and all that. The funny thing is, and that was a big test, because if this is going to be sustainable, what happens? What happens at this point? So the next morning I get up, and the truth is, it was not eventful. And I think and I haven't been able to physiologically prove this yet, but my insulin had dropped down. I'm back to being insulin sensitive, or close to it. And I think because of the hormonal changes in my body, I don't have those extreme cravings anymore. So the very next day, after doing that one day of indulgence, I said, you know what? I'm back on keto. That was lame. It was nothing. It was just, it just was not what I expected it to be. It wasn't that big of a deal. And so I was able to go right back on and not look back. And, and here we are. This is, we're in February now. And it's been, actually, it's been 6 months now since I started.
So tell me, I've heard you talking about it. You're down to what now? Or down to what, 120?
I went from 465 down to 341 at this point.
Sure.
So,
but
that's 125 pounds. By the way,
more important to me than that is the other things you talk about. That when you talk like you almost get your throat catches when you say, like, I can actually go for a walk down the street.
Yeah. And that's
that change in your life. When you talk about that, that's what really impacts me.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, is a lot of people don't know, is when I began this journey, before I started, I couldn't walk anywhere. I couldn't go, like, I would take my wife to go shopping at the grocery store, and I would sit in the car while she did her grocery shopping. I wanted to go in there. I like to buy things, when it comes to groceries for the house, I want to get, groceries for me, and so I couldn't do that, because I would be in literally pain in the first couple of minutes walking in the store, and I'm pushing down on a grocery cart. And the other thing I would see is your friends on social media who are climbing mountains, and, they're out enjoying the beach here in San Diego, and they're out in, the Embarcadero and these different places, and they're just enjoying the city life and walking around and just having a good time. And that, I wanted that so bad. I felt like I was just dying and I was in prison. And, I was actually looking into getting one of those electric scooter wheelchair things.
Right.
The one thing that, and so all of that started to change, pretty quick. I gave my daughter my truck. I have a Ford F-150 truck that I loved, and I ended up giving it to my daughter so she could drive because I wanted to have a vehicle that was safe. At least that's what I told her, but that was a part of it. The truth is a seatbelt wouldn't fit around me. And the steering wheel was like putting on the brakes against my stomach, and so that was a problem too. And so, and that's another thing that's changed, is I can now fit seat. I don't have to worry about getting in people's cars. Like if some friends invite me to lunch, I don't have to worry about, being in the seat and getting the seatbelt around me, because all the seatbelts fit around me now. And so there's no anxiety there. Going to restaurants was another thing. I couldn't sit in the booths at restaurants. I had to go sit at a table. And so that was another source of anxiety. I probably have the record for breaking more chairs than anybody. I broke a lot of chairs. And the metal folding ones, I break those. And there's nothing more embarrassing than you sit down and all of a sudden your chair goes pop and you're on the floor.
Oh, I can imagine that.
And so I went through a lot of stuff. And like I tell people, I didn't plan to be that heavy. I never planned that. I fought my way all the way up to that. I worked out. I mean, numerous times I bought memberships to gyms to work out, and numerous diets. And then just weight kept going up and up and up and up because I was using the wrong pathology, if you will. I had the wrong information.
Right.
Now that I have the right information, all of that's reversing and changing around. My joints, none of my joints hurt anymore. My back doesn't hurt anymore. My heart doesn't race anymore. I breathe a lot better. I used to huff and puff, doing all that, but I breathe a lot better. I can walk all over San Diego and not have any issues, not have to worry about, is my back going to start hurting, or am I going to feel pain, am I going to get winded? I don't have that problem anymore. I can go enjoy walks. I try to get 2 or 3 miles a day in, just doing a little bit of exercise when I'm walking. And but I want to point out something though. In the first 2 months of doing keto, I did not work out once. I didn't go to the gym once. I didn't do anything. It was all just ketogenics.
And the diet, yeah.
I dropped a lot of weight doing that, not even working out. No, and of course, I come to find out that exercise is only like 5%.
Exactly.
So that was and I worked hard exercising. I would spend 45 minutes to an hour on the elliptical trainer years ago when I'd work out to try to burn off weight. And so my life has just dramatically changed. And the thing about it is I've dropped, and right now I'm at 125 pounds. And
right.
So I had dropped 125 pounds. And because ketogenics is muscle preserving, my legs are used to carrying around 465 pounds. So when you drop 125 pounds down in a short amount of time, you're light on your feet, and you're not using, because you've got these super strong legs that were used to supporting all that weight. And so it's just amazing to me. And people now, they'll still ask me, hey, are you okay? I'm fine. Let's go, And, matter of fact, I'll outdo them in some cases because I've got all this extra strength now, and because I'm not carrying around a 125-pound backpack on me.
And then, but I mean, this is kind of almost just the beginning of your journey from the
Correct.
way I've heard you talking. Just last week, I heard you talking about you've got your next aim is to go walk up Carl's Mountain or something.
Yes.
Then
Dr. Brian Liska says he owes me a trip. I actually talked to a buddy of mine just over the weekend who he was telling he's going to line me up some 5Ks and that sort of thing. And yeah, those are all in the works.
Okay.
Those are my goals in the future. I've got several. It's amazing when the world starts to open up to you again, though. How much extra. There's so many things that you go, I couldn't do this, I couldn't do that, and now you can. It's like, matter of fact, my daughter has her birthday next month, and she wants me to go to Disneyland, and I would have had anxiety about that before, but not anymore. And I happen to know I can fit on all the rides now, and so I'm looking forward to doing the Disneyland and not having all the pain like I've had in the past, and just really enjoying my time. That's actually one of my goals, and that's the thing about ketogenics, especially if you're in a state of weight loss. There's just so many things. There's so many rewards along the way. You're not waiting years to get your rewards, but your rewards are coming along the way, and it's just a great thing. And plus, then you get to a point where you're not even thinking about the end, because there is no end to ketogenics. It's a sustainable lifestyle. And so the funny thing is, a lot of people have asked me about the whole, what about all the fat and cholesterol? And that's the biggest, funniest thing in the world, because I just had my blood work done here a while back here, and my cholesterol and everything was perfect.
Yeah.
I had, matter of fact, Dr. Linsky says I had the blood work of a triathlete. And so, and a lot of people, we've all, that's another lie we bought into because of bad research is we thought, oh, well, cholesterol is bad. Well, no, cholesterol is not bad. Inflammation is bad. And inflammation is caused by things like carbohydrates, too many carbohydrates and smoking and stress and those sort of things. So understanding all of that and understanding that our fats that we eat, from our meats and from our butter and from the things that we eat is good for us. It's not bad for us.
Yeah, that's not now, but you're joining our community now, trying to actually tell everybody else out there that that's the case, because we've been lied to for so long.
Yeah.
That most of them still believe that it's going to kill them. And
well, and I'm the perfect example, because I've been around when that I was born just shortly before that lie was perpetrated, and so the nutritional standard for back in 1970 and all that. I was born and I lived through this whole time, and now here we are in 2018, and we're going, wait a minute, there's something wrong here, and I was a direct. I suffered the consequences of those lies.
Sure. And I was a bit before you. So I remember the days before those changes were implemented. When I was small, I remember what my mom's fridge used to look like, with dishes of lard in there that she used to dig stuff out of to cook with, and all these things that beautifully, wonderfully tasting things that were in the fridge that suddenly she was told she was killing us, and they all disappeared from our lives. And I lived with that until a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
It just saddens me that I had to go without for all these years. It sucks.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think we need to do a couple more, almost like a series of this, because this is just the start of your journey. You've come so far, but I want to talk to you after you've climbed Cow's Mountain.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And after you've run that first 5K. And then I think after that, it's going to be you coaching other people to be doing that. And there's going to be, from what we're trying to do here, we're trying to get a local community here going. And I see you with Brian and Brett being a really huge part of that and a big influence in this community. So
well, and that's another thing too that I encourage people to do. I've got guys that are calling me right now, guys that are bigger than I was. They're more overweight than I am. These guys are calling me now, and they're saying, and they're asking the questions, and they understand. They're understanding. They know that I understand what they're going through, because I've been through that myself, and I still have, I still got my little, I've got another 120 pounds to shed, so it's not like I'm, so I got a ways to go, but like I said, for me, it's not an end for me anymore. This is my life, and this is how I live, and as the next year progresses, it's just gonna go away.
Keeps getting better.
Just keeps getting better. Yeah,
absolutely.
And I'm enjoying it. I'm seriously enjoying the process. 6 months in, half a year in here, I'm enjoying the process, because I get to, I'm exploring new things in this, and it's just being a IT coordinator, being a troubleshooter, technical troubleshooter. I've just taken that and I've applied it to this, and I'm saying, okay, how do I do this? How do I do this? And I'm even into counting macros, doing all the complicated stuff that that I would never recommend anybody who begins keto do. That's just stuff that I have fun doing, and it's fun. I started out simple, by the way. I started out bacon, eggs, and cheese, and simple.
Just cut the sugar.
Just cut the sugar. That's all I did, and I dropped weight. People are like, are you counting proteins? No, I don't care about that. I didn't care about anything, because it just came off. Life changes, So
yeah.
So yeah, but I'm enjoying the process. I'm enjoying what's going on, and and a lot of guys like you have been a big inspiration to me. And I follow you and Low Carb USA and what have you, and so I enjoy watching all your stuff. And a matter of fact, I saw Dr. Brian Linsky on your show just recently.
That's right. Yeah.
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 So,
no, I'm going to feature him again shortly. So
yeah,
he's been the one of the types of people that I'm looking for. that he's so motivated to do what you guys are all doing here and start a movement in a local community. I need to find someone like him in every single city in the country, and then I'll have it.
Well, one of the things I forgot to mention also is it's important to have people come alongside of you. I happen to have the best team in the world. I've got Dr. Brian Liskis, the doctor of internal medicine. I've got Jeff Cotterman from Tri-System Nutrition. He's a nutritional sports nutrition genius. I've got Dr.
Brett Scher.
Dr. Brett Scher, and we've got I got Mark Waddell. Mark has been kind of he's helped me understand the physiological benefits of fasting with because your body produces those the growth hormones when you fast, and it does wonders for it does wonders for the skin and everything. And Rachel of course Rachel Gregory with Killing It Keto. She's got some amazing stuff out there for nutrition, and so it's been really, really good to have a team of people, and that's what I always tell anybody who's doing a ketogenic lifestyle: get some people around you. There's an old Greek word and we get our word synergy from it. Synergy comes from the word synergio, and it's an interesting word because you have, for instance, if you take one horse and let's say that horse could pull 1,000 pounds. Well, you'd think that two horses could pull 2,000 pounds. But the word synergy, there's a mystery in nature where these two horses could pull even more than 2,000 pounds. And I think that synergistic approach applies to people as well, because when you have people coming alongside you, it makes it that much easier to go through a process.
And I think that's what we didn't realize at the first event. I think maybe because it was the first event and we were so hectic. But by the time we got towards the end of the second event that we did in Florida, we started to realize how much people were getting out of being there with all these other people that were there for the same reason, that they drew energy from that they wouldn't have had otherwise.
Yeah.
And that's just basically what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Find a community that embraces this lifestyle and this concept, and you'll be so much stronger for it.
And that's why I do like your guys, Low Carb USA. I love that because that's uniting an entire nation of people into the same purpose and that sort of thing.
We'll start with one city at a time.
Absolutely.
So San Diego's the start of it.
Yeah, and we see the doctors getting up there too, and they're starting to get educated and figure it all out. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, awesome, man. Thank you so much for your time.
Right.
Can't wait for the next talk after you've been up Carl's Mountain. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
It's a pleasure.
Cheers, mate.
Okay.
See ya.